everyone. My name's Grace Amadon, and today I have the absolute pleasure of speaking with Dr. Steve Rosen, who is a professor in the Department of Biomedical Engineering and Mechanics at Virginia Tech and director of the Virginia Tech Helmet Lab. Dr. Rosen will be speaking at the upcoming SNS Symposium, and he will be giving a talk titled Understanding Helmet Ratings: What Laboratory Testing Reveals Across Sports. Dr. Rosen, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Sure, happy to chat.
So, just to start off here, can you tell us a little bit about what laboratory testing involves and what kinds of questions it's designed to answer?
Sure, what my lab's really interested in doing is how we prevent injuries across the population. And one way of doing that is looking at protective equipment. When we think
Sure.
about brain injury and concussion, helmets play a big role in that. However, it's not well understood how effective some helmet is versus another. So what we do is we take real world data and we translate it to the laboratory. And we create custom tests that simulate real world scenarios so we can evaluate injury risk for certain applications, environments. So it might be football, it might be baseball, it might be bicycling or snowboarding. But everything's application specific. We study those things in the real world. We take our data and we build test systems that match it. Then we can evaluate everything in, say, the same scenario and quantify injury risk reductions between models. And this is really important because there's not a lot of information otherwise as to what helmet is safest, which one best reduces your chances of sustaining a concussion. And what we do is provide independent and objective data that people can look to so they make informed decisions.
Got it. And specific to helmet ratings, and this could go in the direction of football or cycling or kind of with baseball, any sport like you mentioned. But can you talk a little bit about what the ratings consist of? Is there a numeric system? Is it, I think I've seen a little bit of like red, yellow, green ratings. Can you talk a little bit about helmet ratings in general and why they're important for sports neuropsychology and brain health?
Sure. Well, our background, my research is injury biomechanics. So my first job is to figure out the forces that cause injury to the human body. And where that all starts is actually the automotive industry. So what we did for sports is take the principles of automotive safety engineering and apply them to helmets. So if you went and you bought a new car off a car lot and you looked on the sticker on the window, there's a star rating for that car that describes how safe it is. 5 stars being the best. 1 star is probably not being sold right now, but it's some indication of how safe the occupants are in that vehicle. And that's a very effective method for conveying a series of complex tests to the general public so they can quickly
Right.
interpret, does this have an adequate level or an exceptional level of protection? So we apply those principles. We use a star rating. Our
Okay.
tests involve, we do a series of impacts. Each one of those impacts match impacts people see in the real world, and then we weight them. So how often might someone see that impact? If it happens all the time, it would get a high weighting. If it's pretty rare, it would get a low weighting. And then we combine that with an injury risk. So you might have something that happens all the time, but it's a low risk, and something that rarely happens, but it's a high risk. And both those scenarios contribute to it. And essentially, what we're doing is predicting the number of injuries we would expect to see for a given number of head impacts. And then we interpret that number relative to the range of performance on the current market with a 5 star, 4 star, 3 star scale. So we can tell people of the helmets available, these are the best right now, and this is the next best, and these are probably ones you want to avoid.
That's fascinating, and I like how it translates to something that most people can easily digest, which is buying a car. I mean, that makes a lot of sense there. Based on those ratings, then, is there like, do not use these helmets? Is there recommendations for athletes have to follow? And does that depend on the level of play also?
Sure, it really varies by sport, but in general, we recommend any 4 or 5 star helmet. There's other differences between them other than impact performance, and which helmet's right for you might vary. It might be the third best helmet, it might be the fifth best helmet, and that has to do with the combination of comfort, how well does it fit, how expensive is it. Other features like aerodynamics might be of interest to people. So there's a lot of other considerations. It's one piece of the equation when picking out a helmet. But we recommend any 4 or 5 star helmet, and they generally are in the top half of helmets that are on the market. We tend not to recommend things below that.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Now, just to kind of wrap up, there's a lot of different professions that tend to intersect at SNS at the conference. From your perspective, how do findings from lab testing translate and become useful to clinicians? And I guess, kind of in line with that, do you have like a main takeaway? What's the main point you hope SNS members of any discipline could get away from your talk at this year's symposium?
Sure. Well, at its core level, we're identifying helmets that best reduce head acceleration. And head acceleration is that physical mechanism that produces injury. So if we could reduce that, we could reduce risk. And we identify trends for the general population. We're not predicting one individual's risk, which varies. There's a lot of biologic variance. So what I think is useful is for people to have a general understanding of the science that goes into it, which gives confidence. You can interpret more than just what the star value we assign is, but what the actual number means and what the difference between maybe two different four-star helmets might be, or what does the difference between a four and five star. So what I'm hoping to convey is some of that context so there could be a more nuanced interpretation of what we do and some confidence in what we do based on the real world research we do to inform the laboratory method.
That's excellent. Well, I'm very excited to hear your talk and the conversation that kind of ensues as a part of that conversation. Certainly looking forward to hearing more about helmet ratings at the symposium that's going to be in Cleveland this May. Anyone who's listening to this recording can read more about the conference and also register to attend on the SNS website at sportsneuropsychologysociety.com. You can also follow SNS on Facebook and X or any social media platform there. Dr. Rosen, thanks again for everything. It was great to hear from you.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.